And we're live back with the 8th day of the 30 days that suck. Here in my pseudo YouTube probation period. We're joined today by Robin Rocks from LA. What's up, Robin? How you doing?
Hey, hello.
It's awesome, man. So today, guys, we're now listen. It's good. You get a little gross. Could get a little uncomfortable. So listen, if you're out there eating, I want you to put your sandwich down. Take a break from the sandwich and the food. If you're driving, maybe pull over the side of the road. If you got like really squeamish neighbors with you in the car or kids with you, may want to get them out of the room because this could get kind of disgusting and kind of uncomfortable. Just because nobody talks about periods in public, but if we're being real, periods suck for a lot of people, not only for the women but for the men as well, because there's certain things you can't do when it's that time of the month. If you get my drift.
Well, what's funny is I actually was asked about period sex. I was like, oh boy, I guess we're we're really talking about everything. But yeah, I'm told that people have a special towel.
People, the times in my past when I've had sex and it was found out to be a period, I didn't know right away. Like there's been times when I've had a girlfriend, we did it and then it kind of started her period early. You know what I mean? Like it was about to go and then maybe that was like the torpedo that torpedo that blew up the submarine, period missile or whatever. I don't know. What do you think? Is that a possibility? How does that work?
I think so. Yeah. Like it was just kind of hanging out and then you kind of, got it started. Yeah.
Blew it up. So what is a period? Those may be asking. Now, a period is also often referred to as menstruation. The textbook definition is something like, we could ask the textbook definition. Hold on. Okay, Google. Define menstruation.
Menstruation is Here's the definition of menstruation: the process in a woman of discharging blood and other materials from the lining of the uterus at intervals of about 1 lunar month from puberty until menopause, except during pregnancy.
Wow, that's pretty specific. So basically, you're shedding a bunch of blood and other materials from your uterus, one period a month in a lunar cycle until you hit menopause, they said. So that's the clinical definition of menstruation. Now, this brings me up a topic that I just randomly thought about when they said lunar cycle. Do you think, Robin, that because it's aligned by the lunar cycle, is that why chicks are so into astrology and the moon and all that stuff? What are your thoughts on that?
That's an interesting question. Well, it seems like the moon must have some kind of effect. Honestly, there's probably some research to some extent, but right. For it to be that accurate, it blows my mind. I'm right on schedule. But what sucks about mine is half the time it'll be a day early. And I'm damn it, you're squeezing in an extra period in there, every couple years, you know what I mean? But it's so strange. It's right on schedule. What the heck is that about?
We got to say hi to some people. We got you in the chat, obviously. We got Juice Wrestling Podcast. What's going on, brother? Enjoy your interview the other day. Mike's in the chat. What's up, Mike? Serge. What's up, buddy? Twisted's in the chat. What's up, Sam? How you doing? Funky Uncle John's here. So is Connie.
Hi.
Right, Twisted is a female as well. She's a period-having individual. So she has thoughts on this. Guys like us, guys like me, guys don't have periods. So we have to defer to either the internet or close female friends and or wives, whatever. You'll be like, oh, what's up with the period if we want knowledge about periods. Most guys don't really care about menstruation. I'm not gonna lie to you. A lot of guys think it's gross. They just don't want anything to think about it. Some guy, and then on the other spectrum, you've got these weirdos who are really into it. I don't want to talk about fetishes and all that. We're not going to get into that. It's disgusting. But Twisted says it's not tied to the lunar cycle. We're all on different schedules. Okay. It's the length of the length of the cycle is approximately a lunar cycle. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I guess what I mean is it's so strange how it's so exact.
Mm-hmm. Every month, same time, right? It's kind of do you think maybe that's what they based the months off of back in the day? If you think back to the Gregorian calendar, why is it? Maybe it's just a coincidence that it's this every. Is it like that in other animals? What's a dog, for example, or a female rhino? What are their just? I'm curious. I'd have to look that up. I wonder if they're all aligned with months, or just 6 weeks, or if it just happened to be random with women every same time.
I think probably. You know what I had happen with a guy is he had like a nursing background. He would like monitor me. He would monitor. Is that a thing guys do? They like monitor your fucking period. They're like,
sometimes yes, because like, I mean, it depends. I mean, if you're using prophylactics, then not really. But like, if you're, you know, at that stage of a relationship and you are going in unprotected, some guys will. I mean, I will admit to doing that sometimes with some dates about like, okay, tracking ovulation, like, okay, I could do it here. Now, you know what I mean? Just kind of in the back of my head.
To avoid pregnancy.
Right. Like, okay, she was on her period here. She's on her period this month. One of the days she's least likely to ovulate. You know what I mean? So it's like, I gotta. Some guys will kind of do that in the background. I don't think it's a, like a main thing. Not everybody does that. It's not like a forefront thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's like a common thing.
It made me feel like I was like a science experiment or something. You know, it wasn't really about pregnancy with him. And I think to some extent it was his nursing background and like the monitoring patients kind of mentality. But like it kind of, you know, stinks to be like sort of reduced to like an animal, you know, like I'm a, you know, a tiger in a cage or something. You know, and they're just monitoring. Oh, and then, you know, it gets into that PMS conversation. Like, I can be a bitch at any moment, you know, and gosh, that's like demeaning, you know, when somebody's just like, oh, well, you know, you're PMSing, so your emotions are invalid. Although I will say that people get too emotional and you need to have better control of your emotions. Some people need to have better control of your emotions, like especially take that into account. Like, am I being unreasonably upset because of my hormones? You know, I mean, that there's like that bad imagery out there of like the chick like flipping out over nothing and stuff. And I don't appreciate like being looked at like that, like, oh, you're getting upset over nothing.
Captain's in the chat. Captain, for those just joining us, we're joined by Robin. Our channel's Robin Rocks.
Hello. Hi.
Barnett's from Los Angeles. Now, I will piggyback on what you just said there. I will say some guys, I think, subconsciously, when it's that time, they'll kind of antagonize a little bit. Like, oh, so it's that time of the month, huh, Robin? So you must be a little cranky now, huh? And then just that fact pushes it, you know, maybe you wouldn't even be cranky, but now the fact that, you know, people think you're cranky, you're like, you know, why the hell is this guy thinking like that? You know what I mean? So that kind of, I will say some guys probably do that subconsciously. They may not realize it, but some guys probably do that subconsciously.
Yeah, I like make it a point to not get into arguments and stuff like around that time, because I don't want that thrown in my face, you know, like, oh, you're PMSing. I'm like, I'll just wait and I'll come back in 3 days and I'll chew you out then.
Right. You know? Just as being that, be more mean when you're not on it than when you are on it. Bobby Joe says, my brother is a nurse, and if he even tried to monitor his fiance, he would be single. So, sweetie, when was the last time you
It was weird, yeah. You know, okay, so I was thinking about when I got my period, my mom, you know, wanted to have that conversation with me, and I like bolted and ran away, and I never had that conversation, and I was angry. You know, I was angry about like being a chick, you know, but all I ever got really was the one class in elementary, and I think like I was in Girl Scouts and they had some class about it or whatever, but I just figured it out on my own. And, you know, I was like so resentful. I
would imagine a lot of women probably do find out on their own. I mean, you're probably sitting there however old you are when you first have it, 10, 15, whatever. And, you know, you just sitting there one day and you look down, oh, there's blood. You just got to take care of this. And you put it in a pad. I mean, it's something you got to take care of. I mean, you can't be out here free bleeding on a chair. I mean, it's a gross concept. I mean, I don't think people even do that. Twisted says periods don't make us crazy. Men's do. That's true. Guys can be out. The old proverbial guys are assholes. Women can be bitchy. I mean, that's how guys are. That's how women get sometimes. I mean, it's just
I've heard that male hormones are actually less predictable But so that's what I'm saying is like we need to be in better control of our emotions in general, because clearly like you don't really see that with men so much. You don't see them getting, I mean, you do and you don't. Like men get really angry sometimes or whatever. But, you know, it's possible to control your emotions despite your hormones affecting them.
Bobby Joe says, I had surgery for me no more, and this house will be a war. Now, kid, that's the thing. So if you get is it a hysterectomy? What is there a surgical procedure that you can get to? I mean, basically, if you get your uterus removed, if you get is it called hysterectomy? Is that what it's called? If you get that done, does that mean no period then? No more periods after that?
Oh yeah, they take everything out. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there's no more. But I mean, if you do that, you can't have kids, obviously. So if you want to keep it open to kids, I mean, it's just something you kind of have to deal with, really. Oh, Lone Wolf's in here. What's up, buddy? Pulling over from Robin. We got 21 in the chat today. This is great.
Yeah. I threw the link out a few times and stuff. So if I don't know if I'm missing anybody else from my chat. An ovary removed. Oh dear.
Yeah,
What I was going to say though about period blood being gross is I'm like glad we're having this conversation, because it made me think about it, and I was like, well, but we are born in the blood, you know, like that, all that stuff coming out, like that's what you were created in, you know, and it's gold. Like some people call breast milk like liquid gold or whatever, you know, it's like nature's perfect food source, and to some extent like period blood is gold also, you know, it's how we survived and thrived and grew.
Well, it's the essence of life, if you think about it. I mean, anybody who's ever seen a birth on TV, or if you got kids of your own, or you had kids, you see how births work. It's a pretty bloody process. I mean, it's there's blood and mucus everywhere. I mean, they got that big placenta, and that thing's covered in blood. I mean, it's just I mean, I don't know. It's weird because like some guys will sit there all day and play all these gruesome war movies or gruesome war video games, like go out there and play Fortnite and Call of Duty and all that, and you know, watch war movies, and then the thought of like just a baby being born or a period or whatever is totally is like whatever. It's like it's the same concept. I mean, it's just a lot more life giving instead of, you know, life getting rid of, as opposed to a war video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny what we consider like we're like ashamed of ourselves to some extent, you know, like we're grossed out by ourselves. Like I was talking about poop also, but yeah, I'll leave that for another time.
No, sometimes when like a bunch of women will live together, I heard their cycles will align. Like they go away to college and they're all living in a dorm.
I don't know what it is about hanging out with my best friend, but she's like always on her period. and I always get mine like a day later or something. Like it's and we were roommates at a point. What the hell is that about, man?
Right. Like if I was the janitor, say at a girls' dorm, like a state university or something, they had, 100 women and they all cycles all lined at that time of the month. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the guy cleaning up that mess if there was any mess. You know what I mean? There might be like if you could 1/5 the damage instead of, as everything all at once. I mean, that plumbing has got to be.
Do you ever watch Modern Family?
I do. I've seen it before. Yes.
Yeah, I love there's that episode where the mom and the two daughters get their periods at the same time, and the dad is just like the trifecta. That dad is so great, man. He's like the best dad.
Fish and Loaves like say yes, periods do have their own magnetism. Nice. Yeah. Vanessa says, I asked my doc if hot flashes and night sweats ever stop. She says maybe sometimes, maybe never. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's I know menopause can be rough for people. I know I don't know what the exact age is. I think it's like 40s and 50s or whatever typically for a lot of women. But I mean, that's a huge thing to overcome. And that can be quite emotional. I mean, if you're out there, you got a partner, you really got to be for them. Because sometimes they'll just sit there and break down and cry. I mean, they just don't know why they'll start crying. I mean, it's just the nature of menopause, I think. And what do you I mean, you're obviously way premenopausal, but what are your thoughts on stuff like that? I mean, it's like that's got to be pretty emotional, no?
Well, pretty much without fail, when I get my period, I think something along the lines of God is an idiot, But then in the back of my head, I think, I'll probably miss this when it's gone to some extent because it's not that difficult to deal with. You stick a tampon in every 4 to 6 hours or whatever, and you wake up in your own blood on that second day a lot of the time. But, but, you know, so it's not that difficult to deal with. And then, of course, there's the whole, oh, I can't have children unless I, have periods. So, in that sense, I feel like I'll probably be sad to see it go.
Vanessa says, roasting and hitting freezing cold at the same time. Fun. That sounds like when you're have you ever been really hungover? Like you went out and drank a bunch of liquor and just you get up and you're just sweating, but you're freezing at the same time. But you can't stop sweating. I imagine exactly what that's like right there.
That's terrible. Why it's such a process. You know what? Okay, so I wonder sometimes, like, how did we do periods before like absorbent materials were a thing? I mean, the ancient humans, were they waking up in pools of their own blood and saying, okay, I'm going to go stand in the river all day, although I will say that I think, or you hear that you don't get your period when you're very like active. So I'm guessing that humans, when they were moving around a lot, maybe didn't get their periods so often. But then at some point, we just sort of developed societies and probably didn't have clothing and absorbent fabrics and stuff. So what were people doing then? Did they just have blood flying down their legs for 5 days a month?
I bet it was a combination of a couple things. Back then, as soon as a woman was able to, we're talking 2,000-3,000 years ago, caveman times.
Oh, 200.
Couple hundred, pretty much pre-America times, pre-colonial times. Back then, as soon as a girl was able to have children, they would typically start doing so.
Yeah.
And I think that combined with the life of being a pioneer, constantly moving around, constantly being stressed, and the fact that they were probably always pregnant, maybe they just didn't have them as much back then. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of years ago, before people wore clothes and stuff. But yeah, I think that's probably part of it also, is that people were probably just constantly having sex and babies. So you didn't get your period that often.
And it probably, and it might have been one of those things they just, if you're talking, who knows what the undergarments were? They probably, if you had undergarment, I don't even know what I'm woefully unprepared for the historical aspect of this, but I have to think at some point underwear was invented, and then maybe they just, are like most tampons made out of cotton. What are they usually made out of? They've had cotton for quite a while.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about before clothing was invented and we were, spear fishing and whatever.
Oh, like before Columbus and everybody came over, before the explorers came over. Okay. Yeah, like I wonder. Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder what they're doing. And that's something that they nobody probably ever documented either. That's interesting, because think about it. Most of history was probably written by men. The women didn't have time to write stuff down, so I don't think there was many women like, what's his ovulation cycle? They probably had no idea.
Yeah. Oh, I lost it. I'll try to remember it.
Under tons of stress, they hunt and gather. Probably were not having periods in their day.
Oh, okay. So I'm not all that familiar. Animals have periods, right? I remember some guy in high school who used to buy diapers for his dog or something. So, how does it happen in the wild? I don't really see that on nature shows, like animals walking around with blood falling out of them.
They might just be that might be another thing too of animals in the wild are kind of always pregnant type thing, like a wild tiger and you're in heat. Every time you're in heat, you're probably going to attract more wild tigers to come, take care of the being in heat thing. So it's like, I have seen the dog thing. I have seen like if people have a female dog and they're not fixed, you do have to put a diaper on it so it doesn't get off the couch and whatnot, which is pretty gross to think of in that regard. But if you got to get out there and spay and neuter your pets, if you got pets, you want to be responsible. If you're not,
Barker reminding you to help control the pet population, have your pet spayed or neutered.
97, 98 years old out there, still alive and kicking, man. Good for him.
Oh, I should try to find him. Oh wait, he was weird with the models and stuff.
Yeah, his past was very sordid, if we will.
How bad did he get? Well, I can look that up. We'll stay on topic.
They used to. Well, he used to bring in the. He used to have the Playboy Playmates. Used to always be the Barker's Beauties, and there was all kinds of stuff going on with that.
Well, but you know how, like, to an extent, like a little bit of ass grabbing was just acceptable back in the day. You know, I mean, did Cosby people? No, right? So
exactly.
You know what was that?
Oh, just Vanessa said undergarments help prevent rashes. Very true.
Oh, okay. That actually, okay. So I'll save what I was going to say, but I have special underwear for my period. I have black underwear, you know, then I don't have to worry about stains. I'm curious if other people do stuff like that. Oh, it's Super Cereal. Hi, Super.
Char doesn't like her periods either, so women in the UK don't like them either.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's good about periods is that, you know, you're able to have children because of them. So that's actually a really, really good thing. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know why we have, like, why can't we just always have that lining ready, and why do we need to shed it? Right?
Why can't it just stay up? Right. Like, why can't the same newspaper stay up in there? The newspaper is a colloquial term. I don't know the technical term for it, but like, hey, why can't the same newspaper stay in the uterine lining? And like, why is the guy's got to have to shed your skin every month? It's seems like unfair design. Like what do you think?
It is a design flaw, God.
It seriously is. If you think about it, like, I mean, guys got stuff. We got to shave, I guess. But I mean, there's nothing, you know, comparable to a period for guys.
Cosmetic, you know.
Well, like anything we do, you guys, anything that's subject to guys, which women can get too. You know what I mean? It's not like, I mean, there's certain kinds of cancers, I guess, but like just in regular life bodily stuff. I mean, there's nothing that compares to a period for a guy, because people can be like hemorrhoids, but you know, women can get hemorrhoids too, sometimes even worse. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you're out there, guy, you know, the next go around, make it a little bit easier on them. Maybe a little pellet that pops out or something. I don't know, make a bloody mess.
I'm sorry, what? A pellet?
Yeah, like a little pellet. Every once in a month, you just drop a little pellet and you throw it away. Mick is so gross.
So if you were God, your solve to periods would be dropping a pellet?
Period pellet once a month. A little right.
Oh, okay. Like, oh, all right. Like, oh, there's my lining, and it's just a one-time little boop.
Right, like a BB, like the size of baby, 3 standard BBs. A little pellet just drops out once a month, and there's no blood involved at all. Well, if we're going down that road, I mean, if we were totally redesigning stuff, I would say the digestive tract would probably be first, because that's probably grosser than the menstrual cycle, I would say. I mean, some of that stuff like the intestine and all that. Intestines are gross, man. It's the whole like proctologists and all dealing with all that stuff. Those guys don't get paid enough, man. Fuck that job.
Is that not fun?
I couldn't. Can you imagine like looking up assholes every day? I couldn't imagine that would be fun after a while.
Yes, it is interesting the life that doctors lead. Also, waxers. You know, I'm like,
what do you do for a living? Oh, I wax bikini wax. Oh, really? Interesting. Nice job you got there.
Yeah.
Connie says some birth controls can stop. That's true, isn't it? What is the? Isn't there some that stops it for like
seasoning.
3 months? Okay.
There's a quote in 30 Rock. It's like my favorite comedy. And the chick that he's seen says that she's on Dodecacil, which is a birth control where you only get your period once a year. But when you do, you're moved to a secure location in the Adirondacks. But yeah, and then his response is, damn it, we've almost beaten that thing. But yeah, I was on Seasonique for a little bit. You know, you only get your period once a season. But I don't like playing with hormones like that. You know, I don't like chemicals and things. Like we're all guinea pigs still.
Right. Like we have to be real about like birth control and all that stuff. It's a fairly recent invention. I mean, the modern the 70s, I think, was when it first really came around, and we really haven't had generational studies like, you know, for a lot of these medications. So like a lot of these birth control pills are kind of, you know, use at your own peril. I mean, the only 100% cure is you obviously not do it, but I mean, if you want children, you have to. But I mean, if you don't want to have children, you want to, you know, do sexually active, you got no choice typically. So it is kind of a mess out there with some of these medications and birth controls. Because I've seen some birth control pills, and not just pills, the Depo-Provera shot and, you know, whatnot. It'll really mess with women. Like some women, it'll make them so it'll either make them gain weight or make them just totally depressed.
Yeah,
Or there's huge side effects of some of that shit. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I've had friends gain a bunch of weight on Depo and stuff like that. Where are we with male birth control? That's something men must want.
I don't know, honestly. Well, like me, for example, I had a vasectomy because I'm done with having kids. I'm 45 years old. I'm not gonna be, 65 out there having kids. I'm just done with it. So like that's kind of the cheap. I mean, it's really an easy procedure for being real. 2 snips and a week later you're good to go. But I mean, I don't really know if there is one. I mean, besides the standard, condoms and all that. But I don't. I think. I mean, they should do it. I don't know if they can do one that maybe they've tried and it counteracts the ability to maintain an erection. I'm not really an expert, to be honest with you. I've seen articles and stuff, but I've never really studied it at all.
Yeah, it's interesting. I get it. Like, oh, the woman's the one who gets pregnant or whatever, and society sticks them with the children largely or whatever. But as a guy, man, I would jump at the chance.
If we're talking conspiracy stuff, I bet that the male birth control, because you know how they test stuff and whatnot. I bet you they keep it on there, for whatever, because like they want to be real careful because probably all the doctors are guys and stuff. And they're like, well, we got to be extra careful with this, just give the women whatever. But the guys, so that's in play.
Yeah. We value men more than women. Oh, okay. What I like, and this is so gross, but what I like about periods though is like the emptying out, like whatever's going, like your body empties everything out, and I'm talking about poop, like just everything clears out, and you feel nice and like when it's over, you feel like you're reset or something, nice and new,
nice refresh, a nice red cleansing. I feel it. I mean, I bet you the same feeling after you like get go to the bathroom, get a nice shower, get nice and fresh. You know what I mean? Go out there, do whatever you want. There's not plugged up and everything. Go Fish Office. What up? What up? For those just joining us, Robin's here. We're talking about menstruation and how it sucks. We're not all just about men's issues. We'll talk about women's stuff too. We're not discriminatory too much over here. If I did discriminate against something, it's inadvertent. I mean, I'm just usually I'm stoned all the time, so I don't really remember. But does marijuana help with menstrual cramps and stuff like that? What do you think on that? I mean, is that it might be a good option for some women? What do you think?
You know what? It probably does. I am so lucky. I get the best version of a period. I got cramps once when I was 17.
That was it.
Yeah. Man, nice. I'm so sorry. Like they said, I'm sorry. I think I've had them, like I've had them for food reasons and stuff like that. And they stink and everything. So I feel like weed would help that. But what was the thing I was going to say though? I should have like put stuff in my phone, darn it. I'm such a space cadet. It was something about what you said. Anyhow, let me try and remember that. I'm sorry.
Now, let's not get too personal, but what is your preferred method of sanitary napkins? Do you got like the tampons? Do you have the pad? What do you like using the best?
Pads make me feel like I'm wearing a diaper. And I don't know if there's a way to get the hang of them because I like the idea. Like I'd rather not be sticking something in me. But they make that diaper sound sometimes and you feel it. Like you feel this fucking like diaper. So I don't love that. So I do tampons. And I like that Tampax has Ultra Plus because it's so funny. If you don't know, a lot of people, their second day is like ridiculously heavy. And so for me, like I almost don't really have to deal with anything. And like the second day, it just goes boom. And those Ultra Plus tampons are perfect for that, man. But they're hard to find. Like they're at Target, but they're not at all the stores. I'm like, dude, Super Plus ain't cutting it. Ultra Plus, thank you.
Couple things before we close out here, guys, on tampons. One, they passed a thing in Ohio. It should be countrywide called pink tax. They got rid of the pink tax, meaning they're not charging taxes on tampons and sanitary napkins. There's no reason for that. It really isn't. And 2, if you're going to the store and you need to buy sanitary napkins or tampons for your girlfriend, daughter, grandmother, whatever, just take the old box and go up there. It's a lot easier because you don't want to be asking people in the aisle, what should I use? Or, what's your flow like? That's not a conversation we have with the screen. All right. So, Robin, tell us about your channel real quick and how do people subscribe and get a hold of you? Somebody drop Robin's link if they can too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I do a morning chat show and I call it like an inappropriate Today show. We talk about controversial stuff like this and everything. And I'm adding to my repertoire, but I also do beer content. I want to open a brewery and, I do a variety, like I do call-in chats like this also and things like that. So thank you for the show.
Heck yeah, let me drop the link here real quick. I think I can look it up if somebody hasn't dropped it already.
Thank you.
It's Robin R0XX.
Yeah.
And I'd like to appreciate everybody for coming out today. Tomorrow we are discussing, hold on, I got it pulled up here somewhere. Tomorrow we're discussing how airline travel sucks. So that should be a fun one. Thanks everybody for coming out. If you haven't sub already, check out Robin, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Peace.